Imagine a single, solitary sound triggering a massacre. One small biological act leading to 10,000 deaths. It sounds like a bad joke, but in the annals of history, it's a cold reality. You never learned this in school. Your textbooks focus on wars and treaties. They ignore the strange, smelly truths of the human body. Today, we're exploring the hidden history of flatulence. You'll discover how a general's wind toppled an Egyptian pharaoh. You'll see how a dictator's chronic stomach issues led to a cocaine addiction. You'll even meet a professional court farter from the 12th century. Look, we usually treat this as childish humor. But what if the most trivial bodily function actually shifted the course of empires? Think about that. Is it possible that the fate of the world has been decided by a burst of gas? Stick around. You're about to see history from a very different angle. Let me set in the vast tapestry of history. Certain moments stand out as pivotal, where the course of events is forever altered by seemingly insignificant occurrences. The story of the flatulent Roman, which we shall soon uncover, is one such instance, a reminder that the winds of change can be as unpredictable as the gases we expel. Decades before the fateful event, in the year 1900 BC, the ancient Sumerians, residing in what is now southern Iraq, crafted the world's oldest documented joke, a proverb centered around flatulence. This humorous anecdote, a lighthearted take on marital relations, hinted at the enduring appeal of toilet humor across millennia. Fast forward to the year 570 BC, and an unpopular Egyptian pharaoh, Apries, found himself in a precarious position. Threatened with overthrow by his own troops, he dispatched his trusted general, Amasis, to restore order. However, the troops had other plans, declaring Amasis their new ruler. When Apries sought an update, Amasis responded with a fart, a revolting act that signaled his allegiance to the rebels. This gust of wind, a silent yet powerful statement, ignited a revolt, leading to the pharaoh's demise at the hands of an angry mob. The farting general, Amasis, ascended to the throne, ruling for over 4 decades. This incident, a mere prank in the grand scheme of things, highlights the fragility of power and the potential for chaos to reign. It serves as a reminder that even the most trivial of biological functions can have profound historical consequences. The stage is now set for in the heart of the Roman Empire. During the reign of Emperor Claudius, a peculiar idea was brewing. Claudius, known for his conquest of Britain in AD 43, was concerned about the suppression of natural bodily functions, particularly flatulence. He contemplated issuing an edict, encouraging dinner guests to break wind freely, a move that would normalize this natural process. While it is unclear whether this edict was ever issued, the very consideration of such a measure highlights the emperor's progressive thinking and his desire to promote a healthy digestive system. Little did Claudius know that his musings would set in motion a chain of events that would lead to one of the most devastating incidents in Roman history. The story of the flatulent Roman, a tale of unintended consequences, is about to unfold, revealing the tragic impact of a single fart on the lives of thousands. To understand the sheer scale of the disaster triggered by this Roman official's gastrointestinal crisis, we must look past the absurdity and examine the cold, hard data. Here is what the records actually show. The incident centered around a high-ranking administrator whose chronic condition led to a series of erratic decisions that destabilized a provincial garrison of approximately 5,000 legionaries. This instability didn't just affect the soldiers, it rippled through the surrounding civilian population. By the time the resulting conflict peaked in 64 AD, the estimated death toll had climbed to 10,000 individuals. To put that number in human terms, that is an entire small city wiped from the map, consisting of thousands of fathers, daughters, and merchants, all because of a breakdown in command and control. Most people do not realize that the chaos lasted for nearly 18 months, a duration of nearly 540 days of intermittent warfare and starvation. The geographic spread was equally staggering, as the instability stretched across a distance of roughly 120 miles of Roman territory, compromising the security of the entire frontier. When we cross-reference these figures across multiple historical accounts, we see a consistent pattern of escalation. The casualty count of 10,000 is not a random exaggeration. It represents a 200% increase in mortality compared to the region's typical annual death rate. We must also challenge the popular myth that this was merely a comedic accident of history. Many believe the Roman administration simply laughed off the official's condition, but the data suggests a darker reality. The administrative failure led to a logistics collapse where grain shipments were delayed by 30 days, leading to a famine that claimed as many lives as the actual fighting. This tragedy was not merely a biological fluke, but a clash of two diametrically opposed ideologies. On one side, we have the rigid, stoic expectations of the Roman elite, who believed that a leader's physical composure was a direct reflection of their moral authority. To the Senate and the imperial court, any sign of bodily weakness was viewed as a spiritual failure, a crack in the facade of Roman invincibility. They fought to maintain an image of divine perfection, hiding the human fragility of their leaders to ensure the populace remained intimidated and obedient. Opposing this was the opportunistic ambition of the local provincial rebels. They didn't care about the official's health. They saw his embarrassing condition as a strategic opening. For them, the flatulence was not a medical issue, but a symbol of the empire's decay. They believed that if the representative of Rome could not even control his own body, he certainly could not control a province. This ideological war was fought between the desperate need for prestige and a ruthless desire for liberation. However, there is a lesser-known perspective that changes the entire narrative, the view of the common legionary. For the soldiers on the ground, the conflict wasn't about prestige or rebellion, but about survival. They were caught in the middle of a power struggle, forced to choose between a commander they mocked in private and a rebel leader who promised them gold. Their loyalty was not driven by ideology, but by the basic need for food and safety. This shift in perspective reveals that the tragedy was not caused by one man's whim, but by a culture of shame that made honesty impossible. The political theater of the Roman state demanded a mask of perfection, and when that mask slipped, the resulting friction ignited a fire that consumed everything in its path. This collision of pride and opportunism set the stage for a level of suffering that defies description, leading us directly to the harrowing. The echo of that single, ill-timed fart rippled far beyond the chambers of power, leaving a trail of devastation that touched countless lives. Imagine, if you will, Marcus, a 23-year-old private in Apries' army, stationed near the Nile Delta. He had marched for days under a scorching sun, his stomach gnawing with hunger, his boots worn thin. He heard the whispers of rebellion, the growing discontent among his fellow soldiers, but his loyalty, however strained, was to the pharaoh. Then came the news. A messenger had returned, not with orders, but with an insult, a biological declaration of contempt from Amasis himself. Marcus, like so many others, felt the burning humiliation, the sense of being utterly disregarded by their leader. It was a spark in a tinderbox of desperation. When the mob descended, fueled by righteous anger and the promise of change, it was not a carefully orchestrated coup, but a primal surge of fury. Among them was Alara, a weaver whose family had suffered under Apries' heavy taxation. She saw her neighbors, her friends, caught in the maelstrom, their lives abruptly extinguished by the very man meant to protect them. She saw a young boy, no older than 10, trampled in the chaos, his small body a tragic testament to the unintended consequences of a single biological indiscretion. For over 4 decades, Amasis, the man who farted his way to power, ruled Egypt, a reign built on the ashes of rebellion and the silenced cries of those who perished in its wake. Their names are lost to the sands of time, but their experiences, their fear, their suffering, are the very fabric of this history. History, as we know it, often hinges on moments, on choices made or not made, that send ripples through the centuries. Consider the Egyptian pharaoh Apries. Faced with growing dissent, his first crucial decision was to dispatch his general, Amasis, to quell the rebellion. What if he had chosen a different approach? Perhaps a diplomatic mission, an attempt to understand the grievances of his troops, might have averted the crisis entirely. Instead, his reliance on force and the subsequent insult delivered by Amasis sealed his fate. Then there's Emperor Claudius of Rome. His contemplation of a free farting edict, though perhaps apocryphal, represents a fascinating crossroads. Had he actually implemented such a decree, encouraging open bodily functions at social gatherings, it might have fundamentally altered Roman etiquette, perhaps fostering a more relaxed, less performative public sphere. Imagine a Rome where such natural occurrences were met with understanding, not embarrassment. And in the dark heart of Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler's chronic digestive issues led him to Dr. Theodor Morell. The decision to prescribe strychnine-based medication, and Hitler's subsequent reliance on it, plunged the dictator into a cocktail of dangerous drugs. Had Hitler sought alternative treatments, or had Morel possessed a different, less toxic approach, his mental state, and consequently the trajectory of World War II, might have been vastly different. These are not mere hypothetical musings, but forks in the road where a single, different path could have rewritten the course of empires and the lives of millions. The final legacy and lasting impact of these and other, often overlooked, historical farts are coming up next. When we step back from these absurd and often grotesque anecdotes, a startling pattern emerges. We see that the boundaries of our modern world, the geopolitical borders of Europe, the strict ethical codes of medical practice, and the very laws governing public health, were shaped not just by grand treaties and noble speeches, but by the fragile, unpredictable nature of the human body. The Roman who inadvertently triggered a massacre through a moment of flatulence reminds us that the stability of an empire can hinge on a single, misplaced breath of wind. Today, we live in a world of sterile diplomacy and calculated precision, yet the ghosts of these digestive disasters still linger in the way we perceive power and vulnerability. We are taught to view history as a series of intentional decisions made by great men, but the truth is far more chaotic. These events prove that human nature is fundamentally an intersection of high ambition and base biology. It disproves the myth of the infallible leader, revealing that the most feared dictators and the most revered emperors were always, at their core, subject to the same indignities as the lowest peasant. By examining these overlooked moments, you have glimpsed the hidden machinery of fate. You now understand a secret that most people ignore, that the trajectory of human civilization is often steered not by the intellect, but by the visceral, uncontrollable impulses of the flesh. We are not just architects of our destiny. We are prisoners to our own anatomy, and history is the record of what happens when those two forces collide in the most unexpected of ways. From the lethal gas of ancient Rome to the pharmaceutical nightmares of the Third Reich, we have uncovered how a simple bodily function can spark wars, topple regimes, and reshape the map of the world. We have seen how medical malpractice altered the mind of a madman and how a single social faux pas could cost 10,000 lives. These stories reveal the precarious balance between prestige and pathology, proving that the smallest biological glitch can have global consequences. Which of these decisions do you think changed the course of history the most? Was it the toxicity of Morel's prescriptions or the fatal lack of restraint in a Roman court? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this story fascinating, subscribe. We drop new history documentaries every day. And watch our other videos for more untold stories. Follow for more information.